ABLE account holders can only have one ABLE account. Right now, the way it is written, it has to be in the state they reside in. The Treasury is probably going to change that just because
ABLE Act acronym stands for, and it will allow families and other individuals who would like to give money to a disabled person's account. Up to $14,000 can be given per account per year. It's the same tax code as a college savings account. So only a certain amount of money can be saved each year, and then the monies saved that are in the account belong to the disabled individual and can only be used for a prescribed set of uses that they have to prove with a receipt to get the money out of the account. So the practicality of it is, if I have an ABLE account and Medicare and Medicaid will pay X number of dollars for a group home facility, and I find one that I like that costs me $12,000 a year more, and I have the money in my ABLE account, I can pull the money out of my ABLE account and go someplace that I want to go. So again, like Jawanda said, it's about, the respect of being able to make some decisions for yourself.
And both Congressman Yoder and Senator Moran have been champions for us, and not just with the ABLE Act, but truly supportive of individuals with disabilities and the priorities we have. And then just to fast forward, that fourth Congress, the 113th Congress, in December, which is going to come to Aaron here in a second, but in December, we had overwhelming support for the passage of the ABLE Act with 404 yeas and 17 nays. And I got to be there in the gallery for the vote, and it was just, I just can't describe it. It was just, you've worked so long on legislation. It was wonderful. And then after I came home, I got to sweat, hoping that it would pass the Senate, even though we were fairly sure it would until it does. Nothing's a deal until it's a deal. It passed the Senate, and President Obama signed the law, act into law on December 19th, 2014. Following Congressman Yoder and Senator Moran, Congressman Pompeo, Senator Roberts, and Congresswoman Jenkins followed and sponsored the ABLE Act. And I would specifically like to mention Congresswoman Jenkins. She was a late signee because she's on Ways and Means, and they were asked by their committee chair not to sign on to new legislation. But once she signed on, she became a true champion, and in the last moments was able to help negotiate the bill through Ways and Means because there were some pay-for issues. And then she also was a bridge to our state of Kansas because she was on the phone to State Treasurer Estes saying, you need to be ready when this is passed to get it going.
Jawanda is an incredible advocate and a great team player. And having this piece of legislation pass for the individuals with disabilities in the state of Kansas is very important. As Republicans, we talk a lot about individual responsibility. It's like something that we really champion. And yet, when it applies to the people in the disability community, well, we don't want you to be too independent because we want you to rely on the government. $2,000 in assets, honestly. My brother's not rich. People who get the special needs trust tend to be people who have more financial means, and they have enough to put the money out that it does cost money to have a trust. So those individuals might be able to afford maybe a different residential home than the one that Medicare and Medicaid would pay for, something a little bit nicer. But what about the people who are in the middle, like me or maybe Jawanda, and we don't have the money to do a trust, but yet we want to be able to put the money that we have aside for our children and our loved ones that have disabilities. And being unable to do that, I think really goes against what the Republican philosophy is for taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other and not relying on the government. And the ABLE Act is going to really allow Kansans to be able to provide for their own family, for their own loved ones who have disabilities. And so it was a great honor and privilege to be part of getting the ABLE Act passed in Kansas. And I do want to make sure that I mention State Treasurer Ron Estes. He and his staff worked also tirelessly. And like I said, you should be proud of your Johnson County delegation because they were all very supportive of this act.